Oh, hello. I'm Lieutenant Scott. When I'm not writing WTOs or growing this majestic mustache, I like to read books like this, Defeat into Victory by Field Marshal Viscount William Slim. Now, the S3 shop was tasked with discussing one of the battles in Book 5. We chose to discuss the crossing of the Irrawaddy. Now, if you don't know, the Irrawaddy is a very large river in Burma. It spans approximately 1,300 miles and can range from about 1.5 miles to up to 6 miles in width. Now, this produced a very, very large logistical problem in that they had to cross this river. And not only in just the crossing the river itself, but there's a logistical bottleneck that it created due to the fact that a lot of the boats that Field Marshal Slim had in the 14th Army were either outdated, old, poorly maintained, or they were simply scrambling and scrounging boats from the local populace. Now, although this was one of the logistical problems that he encountered, they did have some success in the use of air power. Now, when a lot of times we think of air power, you're thinking of bombardments, air support, but one of the ways that Slim used air power was to resupply his units, and more importantly, he conducted daily aerial reconnaissance, which he'd use those photos to provide to his commanders, and then they could use for their planning. Another great logistical and support success they had was use of their engineers and mechanics. The engineers were constantly building bridges, building roads, building airstrips to continue to push this fight, to continue to support the fight. And the mechanics were working through all hours of the night, maintaining their equipment, maintaining aircraft, so they would never actually let up. Now, that kind of ends my portion of the discussion, so I'm going to end up handing it over to some of the other various officers in the 3 shop. Now on to Lieutenant Cranstow.
One of the biggest challenges for both sides was the river itself. Now, for General Kimura, he had approximately 200 miles that he had to defend to ensure that no one crossed. Considering the size of his force, how is someone able to do that? And the quick answer is there's no way to secure 200 miles. So, in order to do it, he used live reconnaissance forces as well as a flexible reserve. Now, for Field Marshal Slim, one of the biggest challenges he was faced with was how to get his soldiers across. Now, he relied a lot on innovative methods on part of his corps in order to get across the river. As far as crossing was concerned, he would do it with 3 separate crossing points. Those were the points were largely determined by his corps commanders. Now, once they had crossed, it's much like a breach. Your goal is to get across as quick as you can and to establish security on the far side as quickly as possible. One of the key aspects of his success in crossing the Irrawaddy itself was actually General Kimura's inability to mount an effective counterattack. He, instead of consolidating his forces and massing one massive counterattack against Field Marshal Slim's forces, he instead chose to send them piecemeal as soon as they were available, and it was largely ineffective.
Very upset. Come up in here, start debuting.
I really don't even know what this is. Oh, now on to Lieutenant Sussman. Woo!
What stood out to me most about crossing the Irrawaddy was the make shit happen aspect of the operation. Field Marshal Slim stated, "I do not think that any modern army has ever attempted the opposed crossing of a great river with so little." Field Marshal Slim freely admitted that their boats were small, old, and damaged from long journeys over rough terrain, and that soldiers had to scrounge for local boats to perform a job they were not designed for. This was a major factor in the high risk he mentioned in undertaking such a dangerous operation. He even hints to his own discomfort with the mission, but believed that history was on his side, as he could not remember a single instance when a river had been successfully held against a determined assault. Despite major equipment shortfalls, however, he constantly defaulted to the grit and experience of his soldiers to accomplish the mission. This directly correlates to our duty as the cavalry. We are often asked to perform non-standard missions with equipment run ragged from constant reconnaissance during extended operations. Knowing the importance of our mission to the brigade, much as Field Marshal Slim understood the importance of his mission to the overall campaign, however, we as leaders must at times rely solely on the trust and faith in our own subordinates.
Northcom Raft. And go. Oh, hey. So we're going to be throwing this over now to Captain McShane. He's going to talk a little bit more about the Battle of Crossing the Irrawaddy. Woo!
One of the most impressive aspects of the Irrawaddy crossing was Viscount Slim's ability to thoroughly assess the situation and tailor his forces and assets accordingly. Using thorough reconnaissance, the British identified feasible crossing sites while using feint attacks to force the enemy to show his hand. Additionally, logistical limitations and light restrictions at night caused Slim to adopt a hybrid course of action, combining a stealthy night crossing with a forced day crossing shortly after. This flexibility and imaginative planning allowed Slim to conduct the longest opposed river crossing in World War II. That's it.
Oh, hey. Thanks for hanging out with the 3 Shop, and feel free to stop by anytime. Seriously, though, stop by. I get, kind of lonely. So, thank you. Yeah, I'm not coming back after lunch either. Woo! Bye.